I, 33 female, am stuck in a sexless marriage with hubby, 33 male, and not happy about it and don't know what to make of it. I have been with my husband for 13 years. Sex was never a priority for him, but for me, I have a high sex drive. Over the years we have discussed it and how it was difficult for me to be rejected on average 4 times a week, and that unless I make a move we don't have sex. He has said that he wants sex, but he just doesn't know how to start it, and that all I care about is sex if I bring it up as an issue. We have been to relationship counseling, and still going, and she has given us activities, such as him to kiss me and give me a 30-second hug once a day and sexy messages, but that's dropped off after a week. The past year 1V just stopped wanting it, because honestly I feel so degraded that I have to keep making the first move, and that I shouldn't want it. We have only had sex about 5 times this year, but a few days ago we had sex because once again I made a move. He said it was really good and wants more, but I just feel so disgusted with myself, and I hate that I did it. I started making a move last night, and he told me he already masturbated that day, and it just broke me. I climbed off him, and just went to sleep feeling dirty. I know he masturbates, I find the mess, so I know he has a sex drive, but it's like I'm not worth it or something. We have had so many discussions and plans on how to fix it, but it never works for more than a few days, and I'm honestly just so hurt and fed up. I just can't keep having the discussions anymore because it's a waste of time. He said he wants more sex, but I just feel like maybe it's a mind game. He is playing to keep me interested or like a power thing. I'm just not sure what to make of it, because other than this our marriage is good, but I need some insight. TLDR, sex life is dead because husband doesn't put in effort or playing a power move.
He's leaving his masturbation socks around on purpose or out of gross negligence. I have never seen evidence of my husband's masturbatory emissions, never in 10 years. Not because he doesn't masturbate, or even that he hides it, but because that is just gross and like leaving snotty tissues piled up. You just don't. The fact that your husband does this repeatedly while knowing it's also a sensitive issue between you is extremely concerning. Your husband has never grown up. He is not able to acknowledge and respond to your feelings with basic respect. It manifests in sex, but I'd be shocked if it doesn't show up elsewhere in your relationship. 20 years in, not one cum sock, wad tissue, or anything. This is gross. Yeah, I haven't ever seen evidence of it either in 14 years.
I'm not sure you want to pull on that string, but here it goes. He uses socks and I call them his impregnated socks. They are left on his side of the bed and I find them when I clean up and do the laundry. At first I used to wash them, but now I just throw them out and he gets upset because he has mismatched socks. We have spoken about it and I have asked him to use tissues or to put his socks in the laundry basket because depending on the time frame of usage it can either be crusty or leak out into my hand or carpet. He hates me bringing it up and he acts ashamed about it. He doesn't put his normal clothes in the washing basket, so I don't put too much thought into it being something.
How utterly fucking disgusting. I am totally speculating, but I feel like there's a deep well of sexual dysfunction he needs a therapist to solve. Have a close friend who confided in me that after years of a very similar situation with her husband, it turned out he was a sex addict. Just not with her. He would masturbate all the time and not tell her, watch porn, not tell her. He had some deep-rooted shame around sex. Does he come from a super religious family? It sounds like there's some sort of baggage here that has nothing to do with you, but you're unfortunately the recipient of his issues.
Yes, he did, and sex was a bad and evil thing. After 10 years he was finally able to unpack the trauma of his childhood. He still sees a therapist, but from what he has told me she doesn't like to go into the sex topic, and finding a Navy-approved therapist is hard to do, so we can't exactly shop around for one. Basically his dad was his own cult and had what they called the Church of Dad. His father then killed himself about 2 years ago and left a 12-hour video as to why it was everyone's fault. Honestly, since his dad's death, life has been amazing. It's like a weight has been lifted off his shoulders. My husband didn't live in a house, he lived in a shed in a remote area. When we moved in together it was interesting because he never had things like coffee mugs or carpets, so we worked on how to live like a normal person in that regard, but I felt since we have resolved so many other issues that the sex aspect should have been something we could have worked out by now.
Wait, what? Dude. Dude. It feels extremely important that he finds a better therapist. I think you also need to step back here and remember that he has significant trauma in his life and the sex issues are just one symptom. This sounds very much not about him not making an effort or a power move, but instead deep-rooted psychological issues. This should have been in your original post. This is like the whole root of your issues. It needs to be dealt with in therapy. He needs therapy separately to you. And I think you need to realize this may end with you two being apart at the end of it all. Leaving the socks for you to find is deeply disrespectful, and you'd almost have to wonder if he did the same thing as a teenager and he was never called out on it. He wanks but doesn't fuck. Sounds like a porn addiction to me. He needs a therapist. You need a new man. I mean, Christians and people who grow up in that environment get told sex is shameful all their life, and then suddenly it's okay, and that fucks a lot of people up. A huge amount of ex-Christians and Christians suffer one dysfunction or another, because they find it difficult to unflick the shame switch. I mean the things they say about sex in church. The way they talk about it all the time. It's messed up. And then this guy was in a cult, so I'm not going to trust that dad wasn't super weird about sex as he was about anything else. Say this with love. You're only 33. You really want to be with a man who won't hug you but expects you to pick up his cum-filled socks. Either he commits to individual therapy to deprogram his religious upbringing and sexual issues, or you leave. You already know how he responded to couples therapy. You're sure he isn't like 15? Like you have seen proof? Sucks. Sucks. Question mark. Why the fuck are you still with this guy? Sounds like a fetish. If he was ashamed of them, you wouldn't find them, he would dispose of them like a normal person. Something is not right with him, and it is not you. Don't do his laundry anymore, dude. I'm sorry, that's fucking disgusting. That's so disrespectful. I've been my dude. I've 20 years, since we were 17. I would have left if he did this to me. You deserve so much better. It's something. That is absolutely disgusting that a grown man leaves his filthy masturbation socks for you to clean. How has this become so normalized in your eyes? It's not okay, it's absolutely revolting behavior from a grown man. Why would you even want to have sex with him? Babe, if you leave him, you could be having all the sex you want in relationships or hookups with people who are interested in having sex with you. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to be rejected night after night in favor of his bedroom socks. I've gotta ask, does your husband have ADHD by any chance? Boredom, sex, masturbation, etc. are all quite common in adults with ADHD. I've personally experienced this and had no idea it had a name until I was diagnosed, as is immaturity and executive dysfunction, the socks. Going through that process was transformative for my partner and I. My other thought is porn, and if there's a chance he's got, or had, an addiction to it. The rabbit hole can absolutely ruin all stimuli for a man and destroy any chance of real intimacy as well. Listen to me, he will not change, you need to leave him and find your happiness somewhere else. It might be weird in the beginning, but as soon as he's out of your life, your anxiety levels will go back to normal. Your shallow breathing will no longer be a routine, and panic attacks will disappear completely. I was in a marriage where sex was being an issue. In the dating phase, we had sex once a week because we could only see each other on the weekends. When we moved in together, I thought that we would have more sex and his performance would improve. Wrong. He kept finding excuses to what his problems were. First he used the stress at work, then he used I'm not exercising. That's why, and the most ridiculous was, I think the problem is in the water, and got a whole filter system. Sex decreased and what was once a week became once a month barely. He didn't perform well. His game is way off, and his ed was still there. I was being patient. He didn't think he was having issues. He didn't do much to solve his problem. Because if he had done anything significant, he would have gotten at least decent. He wasn't interested in doing anything. I became depressed. I cried myself to sleep every time sex didn't work. I tried everything I could. I was patient. I didn't bring him down. I was being supportive with, oh, it happens, it's normal. He became comfortable with the situation. He didn't take one step forward to an improvement. I felt dirty, unworthy, and my mental health declined. As if it was not enough, he also wanted to have children. I swear, every damn time he would bring that up, I responded that our sex life needed some work before having children. He would improve. And a couple months later he would ask again about children. And I asked for a whole year of consistency. He didn't stay consistent, and there I was again at the no-sex marriage. And the cycle repeated for 3 years. He's not worthy of your time as my scumbag ex-husband wasn't worthy of mine. But we do give them chances because we love them. I do regret deeply every single moment I wasted with him. I gave up my golden years, the peak of my sexuality, to be with a man that was not interested in sex and neglected me. Walk away and save yourself the disappointment. I'm 39 now, and I wish my 32-year-old would have met my 39 Yomi and listened to her advice.